welcome back to your girl's channel. So as you can see from the title of the video, I'm going to be showing you how to avoid that cake-free makeup. Yes! The things I'm telling you not to do were things that I personally did when I started my makeup journeys. I am not trying to bash anyone. I'm not trying to tell you you're doing your makeup wrong, but this is personally how I do it and how I avoid cake-free makeup. If you want to see my tips and tricks, please keep on watching. So the first step to achieving a no cakey makeup is to first cleanse your skin and then to exfoliate it. I've already cleansed my skin. Now I'm just going to go ahead and exfoliate. I love to exfoliate on dry skin right after I have cleansed it. I'm going to be using the Freeman's Polishing Gel Mask Plus Scrub. We are exfoliating to remove the dead skin, because if we go ahead and apply our foundation on top of dead skin, it is going to create little tiny flakes in our skin and it is going to look patchy. So next we're going to be moisturizing. Moisturizing is key to every skin tone, regardless if you're oily or dry. You need to moisturize. This helps to hydrate the skin. And if you don't moisturize, your makeup tends to cling on to the dry patches of your skin. The moisturizer I used was the Eucerin Intense Repair. Now that my moisturizer is on, we have to wait 5 to 30 minutes for it to absorb into our skin. Usually, I don't have on any makeup at this point, so I go ahead and do my eyebrows and my eyes. I'm just going to wait about 5 minutes and then I'll be right back. And now that my moisturizer is set into my skin, I'm going to go ahead and pick out my foundation. This is totally dependent on your skin type, on what you like, what you don't like. I am going to be using the Decay All Nighter foundation in the shade 12. This is a full coverage matte finish oil-free foundation. Make sure all your foundations are oil-free because oils tend to clog up your pores. And to apply my foundation, I'm going to be using a beauty blender. Now, I know a lot of people like to use a brush. That is totally fine. It does not matter which of these two you use. I prefer this one because it gives you more of an airbrush finish. It just gives me more of a natural finish. Now, however, if I want to go in for more full coverage, I will go ahead and use my foundation brush. This is the Morphe M439. That one gives more full coverage. It doesn't absorb as much product. Regarding to your foundation applicators, make sure that they are clean. My beauty blender, I clean this every time I apply my foundation because if either of these are dirty, it's going to make your foundation look patchy. First, I'm going to pump 2 pumps on the back of my hand. I just go ahead and warm it up by rubbing it into the back of my hand. The runnier your foundation, the easier it is to apply to your skin. The thicker it is, the more work you have to put into it. So make sure you keep that in mind for your foundation as well. 2 steps that I skipped is primer and color correcting. Unless you have large pores or you're really oily or you need a hydrating primer, which will act as a moisturizer. I personally do not use primers unless it's in the summer when I get really oily, and it's usually a mattifying primer. And color correcting, I usually color correct in the summer because I am prone to breakouts, and when I break out it leaves a dark spot, so I have to go ahead and color correct in the summer. But in the winter, my skin is more normal. I don't need to worry about priming or color correcting. I wait until the very end to go in underneath my eyes because that's when my beauty sponge has the least amount of product, and that's what I use to conceal underneath my eyes. Next, I'm going to go in with my Naked Skin Dark Neutral Concealer by Urban Decay. This is what I'm going to use underneath my eyes. Your best option for a concealer is one that is light and is very liquidy. Concealers that come in the, contour kits, the cream contour kits, or a very thick concealer is one, it's going to be really hard to blend, and 2, they dry down extra quickly, so that makes it even harder to blend. I mean, you can go ahead and use those concealers, but you would have to work in sections. You can't apply a concealer like this and then work on one part because they're all going to dry at the same time, and it's going to be really hard for you to blend, and that's going to make it look cakey if it doesn't blend properly. So a concealer that is more liquidy is the best way to go. And another tip, if you want full coverage from your concealer, leave it on for about 30 seconds to a minute on your face. Let it dry down. Just go ahead and cream contour if you're going to cream contour, and then blend your concealer in last because that's going to give you the most coverage, and you won't have to apply a second layer of concealer which if you do apply second layer concealer, sometimes it can make you look cakey. Okay, give it a minute. Give 30 seconds to a minute for it to dry down just a bit. Don't wait too long because then it's going to be really hard to blend. And then blend it out. There isn't a right or wrong amount of how much concealer you should apply. It's all up to personal preference. You can go in and apply a ton of concealer, or you can go ahead and apply a little bit of concealer. Next step is setting. I'm going to be using my Sacha Butter Cup. This is just such a good setting spray. Now to apply my setting powder, I'm not going to go in with my beauty blender because in my head, I feel like because this has concealer, when I dip it into my setting powder, the setting powder is going to cling onto the concealer on my beauty blender, and when I go to apply underneath my eyes, it's going to stick to my beauty blender instead of underneath my eyes. Now, I know some people use the same beauty blender for their foundation, concealer, and setting powder, but I do advise you that if you are going to do that, wash it out the next day, because if you try to blend your concealer and foundation the next day with powder and stuff on your beauty blender, it's going to be a whole mess, honey. It's going to be a whole mess. Another trick I learned from Alyssa Ashley is to fill up your beauty blender with setting powder and then give it one blow to even out the distribution of the powder. And I go ahead and blend underneath my eyes, look up into the heavens, and apply my powder. And then I go ahead and set the other areas that I did apply my highlight. If you are someone that bakes, go right ahead and bake. But just be careful how much setting powder you use underneath your eyes, because if you use too much, you go, first of all, underneath your eyes, it's really sensitive. So if you use too much powder, it's going to be too drying, and then it's going to look cakey, and it's going to make you look even more tired. You're just going to look hella dry, hella dehydrated, and hella cakey if you use too much setting powder. Now, this foundation doesn't need, well, most of my foundations don't need to be set with a face powder, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just gonna set my face. I'm gonna use the L'Oreal Pro Matte Infallible in the color 800 Cocoa. Taking that same brush I used to dust away the powder underneath my eyes, I'm just gonna go in with the very light hand. Once it gets to applying our face powders, blush, contours, highlights, we are trying to use as little product as possible to avoid cakiness. Because if you go in with a heavy hand, you're not gonna look good. You're gonna look like you're not gonna look good. So next, we're gonna go in with highlight. I'm gonna be using my Lou Manizer from the Balm Cosmetics that looks like this, and my Morphe M501 brush. Now, I do advise you that if you do have textured skin, please be very careful with how much highlighter you use, because highlighter does emphasize your texture, and if you do have zits. If you are going to go over it, make sure to take a Q-tip and just dab at that zit really quickly to remove the highlight from that pimple. Other than that, apply as much highlighter as you want. And now to set everything in place to make everything look nice and seamless and like it's just radiating from your skin, we're gonna need to set everything with a setting spray. Now, because my foundation was matte, for this look specifically, I'm gonna be going with the NYX Dewy Finishing Spray. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. Please don't forget to give me any critiques or leave your comments, questions, or concerns down in the comment section below. And for love and makeup and all things girly, please subscribe and stay tuned for our next video. Bye guys.